Still sheriff.
You can't ask those type of questions anymore.
Good morning. It's Monday, February 12th, 2024. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review the agenda.
Move to approve and present.
Second.
I have a motion by Scott, a second by Nathan. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item number 3 are items with Planning and Zoning Administrator Eric Furness. First item is discussion of possible action to accept a variance granted by the Muscatine County Board of Adjustment. Good morning, Eric.
Morning. On February 2nd, Board of Adjustment granted one variance. It was an application by Kevin Plowman, who owns 2369 Jeffrey Lane, which is leads down to what was the old platted town of Arden. They granted a variance that would allow Mr. Plowman to build an accessory structure in the front yard space, approximately 30 feet from the front property line. He owns several of what are tiny little city platted lots of the old village or town of Arden. That road, I actually had to look it up, I couldn't even have told you where it was. It really serves as almost a private drive. He's the only house at the end of this county road, and so there's no issues with, site distance, changing. It's a very agricultural, he's surrounded by farm fields, and there just wasn't buildable space for the location of his septic and some large trees, so they allowed him to build a whole building in the front yard space, so.
Okay.
And that was all that I had on this matter.
I'll move on that.
I have a motion by Danny and a second by Nathan. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Anything else, Eric? Eric, maybe I could put you on the spot a little bit. You sent us some notion on, a note on the WMA information. I read some of that bill and I don't really understand where they're headed with that. They're talking about changing some language.
Yeah, that was, we were not aware of that bill coming at all, and so I don't have any more information than what I sent you, other than it was just concerning, given the apparent success that WMAs around the state, that why they would wanna take, WMAs have very limited authority.
Right.
Anyway, it's not like they can levy taxes, they can't acquire property by eminent domain, force anybody to do anything. It looked like it was, even trying to limit what they can work on and funnel more of that back to the DNR. It's something that our group is certainly looking into, but if you have any contact, then I think the lower Cedar WMA board would certainly say, can we pump the brakes on this if you have any contact with legislators until you can fully explain really why this
What the
is.
reasoning is. Yeah, I was caught off guard by it. I knew nothing of it, and it just looked like some semantics on some of the name changes, but when you look deeper into it, it was pushing a lot of some of it I think had to do with developments and more, but not really what I see the WMA's working on. So,
And Iowa is, I believe, number one as far as states that have, water quality initiatives like, bioreactors, buffered waterways, and conservation practices. We are leading the way, and WMAs have been a big part of getting some of those established with batch and build programs, on a large scale basis, and securing funding for those types of things, cover crops, going out and engaging landowners, and, I think I'm very much of if the system ain't broke, let's not try to fix it here, so.
yeah, okay. Thanks, Eric. Okay, number 4 is discussion of possible action to approve the minutes of the February 5th, 2024 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Scott. I have a second by Kurt, was it?
Yeah.
A second by Kurt. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Scott, did you have any correspondence?
I had nothing to know.
Nathan?
No.
I had, the only thing I had a group from the Livermore lab reach out. There's apparently the federal government must be sponsoring a study into wind regulation. So there was a questionnaire, I responded to it, just asked about, do you have them, you know, what have you know, and what kind of resources might be beneficial. So it looks like this whole notion around wind development, there's some looking, I think it was out of, I don't know, the group was out of Kansas, I think, so that was all I had.
I didn't have anything.
I had none.
Committee reports, Kurt?
Friday, the 9th, I had a We Lead meeting.
Danny?
I did not have anything.
I had none. Nathan?
I did not.
Scott?
Nothing to know.
Okay. Item number 7 is items with the administration office. 7A is discussion of possible action to approve resolution 02122401, a corrective action resolution 02052401, granting extension for final plat of the Braun subdivision.
So that's a whole lot of words to just basically say the resolution that you guys approved last week that was extending the time period to file. The first paragraph had the wrong subdivision name in it. So this basically says, oops, we go back and fix that.
So does that give them another week since we're changing, or does it stick with the original?
It
90
sticks
days?
with the original week.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Nathan, a second by Scott. This is a roll call vote. Scott?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Danny?
Aye.
And Kurt?
Aye.
Carries. Item B is discussion of possible action to accept a proposal for consulting engineering services from A&J Associates for a jail building automation system services provider change review. That's all I was-
So essentially, about, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, we were notified by CSS, who has been, we have an agreement with for the jail, and we also use for the, some of the other facilities for, Oscar, you jump in here.
It appears that they do our HVAC control systems for the geothermal and some other.
But they notified us, I don't know, several weeks ago that they're going out, they're out of business.
Yes. It was a predictable pattern because the guys were providing really poor services a year ahead. So in 2022, we had this guy, Randy Bullock. He was the Johnny the Spot, literally speaking. He would supervise everything, and then as he retired, the company, I don't know who took over the animations, and they started to go down. So I had to call meetings with the guys and tell them where we are. We need more services, how come you're not contributing, etc. So I started to write a lot of complaints about it. I mentioned this to Nancy, and then without no proper information or notice, the company quit businesses on January 1st.
Okay.
And Jim had some contact with them, and we had already paid for a service agreement for the first 3 quarters of the year. They did refund that money to us, no issue about that, but now we're kind of at a point where
Yeah.
we need to find somebody else. We would prefer to use one company for all of our various different buildings, as opposed to having it spread out. But we recognize that we may not have all of the expertise we need to understand if there needs to be software changes or equipment changes with the new provider. And so we would like to have you approve this agreement with AJ so that they can help us with that process and make sure we're getting what we need.
And it looked like he was soliciting, or we were soliciting from 3 contract vendors, potential vendors for proposals, and so they're gonna do the technical review on it and all that, yeah, okay.
So just simplified down, our old guy quit. This is to help us find a guy to find a new guy.
Yep.
Got it.
Find a new guy that can find a new guy and evaluate the process of if we have to change any software equipment or what that cost would be.
And that's 5,900 plus extra round trips.
Yeah,
We don't need to bid that, I'm assuming.
no.
Should be a service contract, so we're good to go.
Okay.
Okay,
Works for me.
That was me.
do I have a motion?
Sure.
I have a motion by Nathan,
I'll second.
second by Scott. Any further discussion? I just hope that we do these controls contractors have been a plague on the county for, I don't know how many years now. From day one, right? Since I've been on board in 2010, we struggled with controls contractors. Hopefully we'll have a good process that we can vet and get a good one in here.
And this is what I need more expertise about it because, of course, I have a local one, Train, but Train is looking to tear down everything that we have and kind of bring new equipment. I totally don't agree with that, especially because we already invested a lot and we have a lot of new stuff working on. So this is why I'm looking to, okay, I need someone to speak the language, and also you are familiar with this design, so you know how much pressure these buildings need us to remove air or to introduce air to condition, to balance, et cetera, so.
Yeah.
Hard to get them, but we're trying.
All right.
Cool.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Thank you, Oscar, Nancy.
Well,
Do you have anything else?
I do
for
not.
This morning, Nancy? Okay, item number 8 are items with Mr. Mike Nolan from Horizon Architecture. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Item 8A is to review the bids, a possible action to accept a bid for the Muscatine County Jail Mechanical Penthouse Access Panel and Platform Modification Project.
Yeah, so this was the first project we did that was under the public bid threshold, so we solicited 3 contractors to give us bids. We reached out to Wolf Contracting, Daxon Construction, and to Spectra Build. We had responses from Daxon Construction and Spectra Build. We received no response from Wolf Contracting, but we did have 2 bids that came back in. The good news is we advertised a budget around $48,000, and the 2 bids came back under $40,000. The low responsive bid was Spectra Build for $38,280 to complete the work. Recommendation is that we let this contract to Spectra Build and let them get started whenever it works with schedule and jail.
And if I'm not mistaken, we have experience with Spectra Build before, or at least the principal there, and they've done good work for us in the past.
They were the primary contractor on the county attorney's office renovation project, and prior to that, the current supervisor worked with Myers Construction, so yeah, Blaine's a known quantity, has done good work for us in the past.
Okay. I would take a motion.
I'd move to approve.
I get a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Kurt. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item B is review bids, possible action to accept a bid for the Muscatine County Jail exterior insulated metal panel extension.
Okay, so this was a full public bid project. We had it broken up with a primary and an alternate. So the primary scope of work was to start adjacent to the front entry and wrap all the way around to the loading dock. And then the alternate was to continue around basically to meet over the 2006 portion of the pre-insulated or the precast portion of the jail. The reason we broke it out was that just with some of the volatility we've seen in the metal panels, we weren't sure if we'd have budget to do all of it. The good news is this is one of metal panels, and particularly one of the chemicals used for making that insulation is something we've seen a lot of volatility with. So we estimated this based off of what I would call peak pricing, and the bids came in below where we thought they would be. So that was great news. We did receive 4 bids for this project from Daxon Construction, Henley Group, SG Construction, and Spectra Build. All bids came in, very well, and the low apparent bidder was Henley Group. And Henley is not somebody that's done work for the county for, but it's Tyler Henley is a Muscatine-based general contractor. He's been to a few of our projects and at least shown some interest. We did get a chance to call around, check with a few references, done work with Ken Corporation, done some work in private citizens in Muscatine, and has done some other municipal work. I think he's been in business for about 4 years. Everybody had glowing recommendations, and talking with Tyler, I feel confident that they're gonna be well suited to do the project. So the recommendation would be to accept the bid from Henley Group for 200, let me get my numbers here, 87,000 for the base bid, and then also accept the alternate of $208,000, which would bring us in with a good cushion for contingency underneath where the total budget was allocated.
Okay.
So the SG Construction, which had obviously the much lower bid on the alternate, but you've got addenda, they only acknowledged one of them, so how did that?
That would not have had any influence on the base bid of the project overall. And so the question comes down to what would happen if they were the low? That would be something we'd have to review with Jim as county attorney, so that could be a minor waiver of bid irregularity. But in this case, it didn't really matter because we can only use the base bid number for our basis for letting the contract, so we can't use the total with the addenda. So that was kind of it. There are a few things that typically if we have minor irregularities, there's things that under the public bidding that can be waived, but it would be something we would definitely review. The second addenda, I'm trying to remember what was in it, was just basically a little bit of a scope for the primary. I'm not sure why they didn't get that. We published that to our plan room. We distributed to all the bidders we have information about. So it was probably just something amiss on their part, but nothing that I would say influence the bid.
And on this project, so this will be a new contractor to us. Do we have a construction management agreement on this? So are you following up with this to make sure that, you know, you'll follow up on this project through the end, right?
We'll continue to provide our typical construction administration services. So we'll be reviewing submittals. We'll be working with them to, and the administration office to get them through the setup on the project, and then been doing our on-site reviews and construction meetings.
Okay.
Yep.
And we've kept Eric involved in this
Yeah.
whole process, so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I hope they do well. It's nice to see a local contractor get work.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've shown some interest in past projects, so had nothing but positive interactions, and I'm optimistic this will be a good project.
So I would,
I'd move to approve.
I got a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Nathan. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
All right.
Anything else, Mike?
We're getting ready to kind of dot i's and crossing t's on some of the master plan stuff. Probably be back here late February, early March to kind of review some preliminary thoughts on that. But that's kind of next up on the docket. Following that, we'll probably sit and talk with Nancy and Eric and see what priorities for next year are, and kind of get in. Sounds like we have some kind of maintenance projects that we need to get into here sooner than later.
Okay, very good.
Very good.
Cool.
Thanks.
Item number 9, discussion of possible action to approve a settlement and release agreement with County Attorney Jim Barry. Good morning, Jim.
Morning. You should have before you a settlement and release agreement that involved a prisoner who was in Muscatine County, was transferred to Polk County, who ended up filing a federal suit against Muscatine County and Polk County. This settlement agreement was sent in late last week. The ICAP is obviously handling the defense of the case as our insurance carrier, and they've agreed to settle the case for the $37,500. And the county's piece of that is
I didn't put that in your packets.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
I'm sorry. But anyway, there's a settlement agreement from ICAP and ICAP counsel relative to the suit filed against Muscatine County in federal court. They've settled the matter for $37,500, and they require that the county sign off on that settlement agreement. The county's outlay or responsibility in that particular scenario is $5,000. That's our deductible. And so.
2,500.
2,500?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you told me 5. Okay, 2,500, excuse me. So, we don't have a large stake in it, but, basically the individual sued Muscatine County, you know, Matt McCleary, CJ Ryan, and numerous employees at the jail relative to a transfer from here to Polk County. I think where he ended up with some folks that he wasn't supposed to end up with. There was a dispute over whether or not he was, Polk County was adequately advised that he wasn't to be mixed with this other group or individual. So anyway, I was contacted last week and that's what they've advised. So I told them we needed to bring that to the board for approval.
No admission of liability.
No. Nope, and the lawsuit gets dismissed, so that's the,
Works for me.
that's the,
Is that a
what I
motion?
have.
That's what you're
Oh,
recommending,
yeah.
you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can't, you know, they're gonna try it, it's a, you know, I would call it a nuisance. You know,
Yep.
at the end of the day, in federal court, that's, not a particularly large number.
I have a motion by Nathan. We have a second?
Second.
A second by Danny. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay, item number 10 is receive information from county employees. Any county employees wishing to address the board this morning? Okay, next item is receive comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to address the board on an item not on the agenda? Seeing no one come forward, it is 9:21 and we are adjourned.